Before the walls go up in a new construction home, buyers has an opportunity to do a walkthrough of their home, and it's called the FRAMEWALK. And this is your opportunity to see what's behind the walls before they get covered. Today, I'm bringing you to an actual FRAMEWALK inspection for my client. You're gonna hear firsthand all the findings that we're gonna find through this FRAMEWALK inspection with a third-party home inspector. Before we meet my inspector and go over the summary report together, I want to share with you why we conduct this FRAMEWALK inspection, what we're looking for, and why it matters most to my new construction home buyers. Let's start with what is a FRAMEWALK inspection. A FRAMEWALK inspection, also known as pre-drywall inspection, happens after a home is completed framing, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and other systems are installed in the home, but before drywall. Think of a FRAMEWALK inspection as getting a behind the scenes of your home while the home is still exposed. At this stage, you could literally see in through the walls and see how the home has been built. For my buyers, it's the first opportunity to see a home come to life with the floor plans that they've selected. So, what are you looking for in a FRAMEWALK inspection? Here are some of the items that we look for when conducting a FRAMEWALK inspection. We are looking at things like wall placement, window placement, plumbing lines, electrical outlets, lighting locations, HVAC ducts, and any structural options you selected. Number 1, confirm structural options. Did you add an extended slider, extra windows, a multi-generational suite, a gourmet kitchen layout? Now is the time to confirm that the structural upgrades you selected are actually in place. Let me call out a couple of the structural options that my clients have upgraded for this particular new construction home, starting with this beautiful showstopper staircase. Now, this is a structural option. My clients has decided to upgrade to a included staircase railing and the glass partitions. And over here, my clients have decided to upgrade to a multi-stack partition slider doors in the great room. So let me just open this up. Wow, I absolutely love that these sliders all partition on each side, and you have this beautiful indoor and outdoor seamless transition for your entertainment space. Now, those two are structural upgrades, and we want to make sure that these structural upgrades are called out to spec based on what my clients chose in their purchase agreement. Now, you may be wondering, Kaori, have you ever experienced a structural upgrade that was not actually spec'd out in the home during a FRAMEWALK inspection? And the answer is yes. Let me give you an example. One of my clients decided to convert one of the loft space upstairs into their additional bedroom. They have multiple children. But when we were at the FRAMEWALK inspection, we realized that the upstairs loft was still a loft and not converted into the additional bedroom with the additional walls. So that was a big wake-up call for all of us, and the importance of doing these FRAMEWALK inspection, because what if you didn't move forward with a FRAMEWALK inspection and you move forward with drywall? Now, at the time of closing, as you approach that day of closing, you'll conduct a third-party inspection, and maybe that will be the first time you realize that your loft was not converted into the additional bedroom per specification on your purchase agreement. Now, don't you think that would impact and delay closing? Absolutely. This is why it's so important to take your time to conduct these FRAMEWALK inspection to make sure that the builder has built your home to spec. Number 2, review electrical locations, outlet placement, light switches, TV locations, data ports, ceiling fan pre-wires, pendant light locations. Ask yourself, will this work for the way I live? It's much easier to make adjustments now than after the drywall is installed. Let me take you to the powder bathroom of this new construction home. And let's talk about electrical needs in the powder bathroom. Now, a lot of my buyers recently are all big fans of the Toto bidet, so they want to install a bidet in their powder bathroom. Now, this is something that we discussed during our electrical meeting, but let's say you totally forgot about it, and during our FRAMEWALK inspection, I asked my buyers, hey, are you interested in putting a bidet here in your powder bathroom? And if the answer is yes, we need to call out electrical right by the toilet. And depending on the brand, the cord for the bidet is very short, so you need to make sure that that electrical outlet is right by the bathroom toilet bowl. So that would be down here. Another thing that we call out is in the pantry. Let me take you to the pantry. So this is your pantry, and you already have one electrical outlet right here. But let's just take a moment to see the position of this electrical outlet. Let's say my buyers are interested in doing a full custom build out of their beautiful pantry, and they have this beautiful vision of putting some of their, it could be your coffee maker, or it could be your rice cooker, or it could be your air fryer. But let's say they want to have a beautiful built-in countertop all around this pantry area, but then you realize that you need an outlet not down there, but on the counter level. This is an opportunity to move the location of this currently slated outlet. If you want to have beautiful appliances on your counter, like many of us do, what we want to do is actually move the location of this outlet up to counter height, and that is a discussion that we want to do during these FRAMEWALK inspections that will follow this FRAMEWALK inspection with a new home orientation with the superintendent. That is an opportunity to talk and discuss if the placement of these outlets are in the right place or not. If you want it higher, let's call it out so that they can move it up to the counter height. Now let me take you to the primary suite and the primary closet. Now we're on the second floor, and I'm taking you to the primary suite and through the bedroom, through the bathroom to the primary closet. And this one is very large. Wow. I could only picture what my clients are gonna do with this beautiful space they have for their primary closet. Now, if you're going to do a custom primary closet, like many of my buyers, and if you want those fancy LED lights, you need to think about an extra electrical outlet. Now, this electrical box is just for the recessed lights that's already included in this particular closet. Now, what we need to do is I want to make sure and see if we've already identified an additional electrical outlet up above for the custom lights. And dun, 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 it's right up here. Beautiful. So these are the things that we're going to be checking for, especially if my buyers are going to be doing custom closets with LED lightings after closing. So this is fantastic. We usually put these additional electric light outlet for the custom closets high above so that it's kind of hidden and tucked away. And then from there, the electrician would take the electrical outlet source and then distribute the LED lights accordingly. We can now check off that we have the electric outlet box in the correct location. Number 3, check plumbing locations. Review the placement of shower valves, sinks, bathtubs, water lines, hose bib. Make sure everything aligns with your chosen floor plan and design selections. Number 4, inspect HVAC and vent placement, air ducts, return vents, exhaust fans. This helps you understand how air will flow throughout the home and gives you a better understanding of your home's comfort systems. Number 5, take photos and videos. This is one of my biggest recommendations. Take as many photos and videos as possible. Years from now, you'll know exactly where pipes, wiring, studs, and support structures are located behind your walls. This can be incredibly helpful if you decide to mount your TVs, hang artwork, install shelving, or complete future renovations. If you're buying a new construction home, would you know what to look for before the drywall goes up? Now, why does it matter? This FRAMEWALK inspection matters so much because you have the opportunity to see the home exposed before drywall covers everything, and you won't see what's behind the walls forever. This is your opportunity to take your time and verify that your brand new construction home has been built per spec. It's so much easier and less expensive to address any issues now than after drywall. I always encourage my new construction home buyers to join me during this FRAMEWALK inspection so they can see firsthand what their home looks like in the structural phase. Now, I work with a lot of clients that are relocating here that are not here in Las Vegas or Henderson, Nevada. So myself and my team are their eyes and ears. We will be here during the FRAMEWALK inspection to collect the summary video, which I will be able to share with you today when interviewing my inspection contact. We keep this video as documentation so that we know exactly what your home looks like when it is pre-drywall. In the future, my buyers could always refer to this video so they could see what's behind the wall, especially if they're hanging a TV mount or a very beautiful artwork. We want to make sure we don't puncture into any of the pipes or wires that are hidden behind these walls. Now, I get asked this all the time. Kaori, is it really necessary to hire a third-party frame inspector? And the answer is absolutely. This FRAMEWALK inspection, it usually costs a few $100s depending on the size of your home, is the best investment that you can make when purchasing a new construction home. First, let me share with you what's necessary to coordinate and book and schedule a third-party home inspection. It's usually called out in the purchase agreement, but it's very important for your buyer's agent to let the sales contact and the builder know that you're interested in conducting a third-party FRAMEWALK inspection. There are necessary documents that are required by the builder in order to schedule and book this particular third-party FRAMEWALK inspection. Those documents include business licenses, certificate of insurance, so forth. It is builder specific, so make sure you coordinate that specifically with the sales contact. Now, what's crucial is when to schedule this third-party FRAMEWALK inspection. We have a very small window. FRAMEWALK inspection is typically conducted a few days before drywall. We don't want to impact or delay the drywall that is scheduled, so it's very important to schedule this right away. And typically after this FRAMEWALK inspection, a day or two after, myself, the buyers, and the superintendent of the builder will regroup and go over what we call a midway construction meeting. It's the builder's way of doing their FRAMEWALK walkthrough. For my clients today, we are conducting this FRAMEWALK inspection on a Wednesday. My buyers will be flying in this Friday to meet with myself and the superintendent for the FRAMEWALK walkthrough. My biggest takeaway when hiring a professional FRAMEWALK inspector is that they are professional, they've seen so many FRAMEWALKs before, and they could identify potential issues for the home before these issues become hidden behind a drywall. What should my buyers ask during a FRAMEWALK inspection? I encourage my buyers and tell them, don't be afraid to ask any questions you may have, because these questions are so important and so relevant, especially before drywall and before all the walls are covered. Here are some important questions I encourage my buyers to ask. Structural and construction questions. Has everything been installed according to the plans and structural options selected? Are there any field changes or modifications made during construction? Are there any areas of concern that are being monitored before drywall installation? Electrical questions. Are all outlets, switches, and lighting locations installed accordingly to plan? What are the dedicated circuits located? Is there additional blocking installed for future TV mounts, floating shelves, or heavy artwork? Where is the main electrical panel located? Plumbing questions. Are all the plumbing lines in the correct locations? Where is the main water shut-off valve? Where are exterior hose bibs located? Are there any plumbing upgrades or features I should know about? HVAC questions. How is airflow designed throughout the home? Where are all return air vents located? What areas of the home have separate temperature zones? Where will the HVAC units be located? Technology and smart home questions. Where are the internet, cable, and network connections located? Is the home pre-wired for security cameras, speakers, or future smart home upgrades? What smart home features are included with the home? Future maintenance questions. Are there photos or plans available showing what's behind the walls after drywall is installed? What should I know about accessing plumbing, electrical, or HVAC systems in the future? Are there recommended maintenance items I should be aware of after move-in? And this is my favorite question to ask the superintendent during the mid-construction walkthrough. Superintendent, if this was your home, where would you pay special attention to, especially before the drywall goes up?
Hi guys, my name's Joey. I'm your Las Vegas inspector here with Apollo Inspections. I'm one of the inspectors for Apollo that specializes in all your FRAMEWALK inspections. So far, we're pretty much just got finished wrapping up on this inspection. Actually, a pretty good inspection to do a video for. Actually, I have a pretty decent bit of stuff. Some of this is going to be normal stuff, but there's going to be a lot of it that is a little bit out of norm, that something I particularly don't like to see. So we'll do kind of like a little walk around through the property, and then we'll go from there. So first and foremost, and this is a really common thing that I run into on a lot of home inspections, especially with the FRAMEWALKs, the builders seem to have been doing a little bit better, but on this one, I was able to find a pretty decent bit of our anchors that were loose. The anchors are going to be the pieces, they're like a J-bolt that goes into the foundation, and they actually hold the structure down to the foundation. So, and you can see like, oh, there's a bunch of these that I just went through and I loosened myself. I mean, I'd say probably 40% of them are probably loose on this property. And that's a pretty decent bit. Usually I'll, maybe 10% are gonna be loose, but that's a pretty substantial amount. And we wanna make sure that that foundation is properly secured. Nevada is the second seismic active state in the lower 48. I know we don't feel like we get a lot of earthquakes or anything like that, but it does cause some settling. We wanna make sure when the houses do settle, because they are going to settle, that they're not gonna cause any actual like major structural defects. Then we're gonna have some of our like little simple comments, and that's just going to be like missing dotty plates. Dottie plates is just like a little metal bracket that goes on the edge of the 2x4s or the framing that look like this. You have them for electrical, plumbing, gas lines. I actually recommend that they install them for the bug lines as well. These little lines down here are permeable lines that they install. There's an access port that's on the outside of the house that the pest guys are able to attach to, and it actually puts the solution through the house on the outside of the walls. It's a really nice feature to have, but if it gets screwed into, it damages that line and prevents it from actually working properly. So I like to see that they get that repaired. So I think that was more or less the main things that I had here in the garage. Was really just going to be a bunch of those anchors. That was in this garage and that other garage. Definitely make sure that superintendent gets this nice and secured.
Awesome. And guys, just so you know, I'm filming Joey as well because I'm going to send this summary video to my clients so that they could be prepared for their mid-walk construction walkthrough with the superintendent this Friday. Joey, since I have you, because you're so, you know, educational, informative.
Absolutely.
So can you just kind of share with us, like, as we go through the house, the different pipes, the colors, what they represent?
Yeah. So anything that's going to be black iron, that's going to be your gas lines. Anything that is going to be copper, usually they like to insulate them on the outside. Pretty much anything that's going to be running through the wall that looks like wiring is going to be wiring. Really, the only difference between the colors is just going to be the gauge of the wire and how many wires are actually in that. You'll have white wire, yellow wire, purple wire, and I think there's even a couple other like orange ones and everything. That's all just part of your branch wiring. That's going to feed your outlets, your light fixtures, everything in your kitchen, pretty much everything throughout the house. They're very engineered to like what is allowed for which fixture. And those all tie into your main panel. This is a bigger property. I don't know if she had said it. This is like a 5,000 square foot property. It'll be very noticeable when we're inside. This requires a lot of power for this house. So more than likely they're operating on a 400 to 600 amp panel. We inspect houses that get up to 800 amps, but usually with these size of houses, we'll probably see a 200 amp main and a 200 amp feed for the sub panel, which is going to be the one that's over there. And then if we see any of the plastic piping that's going to be larger in diameter that is white or black, that is going to be your main sewer lines or part of your sewer/drain system. That's just PVC and ABS. I believe they're actually using PVC for their main sewer line for this property, and then just underneath the sinks and fixtures, those ones might be ABS. PVC is actually kind of a better plastic to use for the drain system. Nothing wrong with ABS, but PVC is kind of like a little better option in my opinion. And it's nice because a lot of the builders these days are starting to upgrade and switch over to PVC like most of the other parts of the country. So that part's been kind of a cool thing to see them start to transition over onto.
By the way, if we haven't met yet, konnichiwa, my name is Kaori Nagao, your global real estate advisor helping you find your new home. Whether it's new construction home or resale home, anywhere in the globe, I'll be more than happy to help you. Remember, I have referral partners within my Sotheby's International Realty Network, so please feel free to reach out to me for any of your real estate needs. As your new construction expert and specialist, I am very, very happy to film this particular video where we're documenting and experiencing a real-life FRAMEWALK inspection. I love it when you engage with me, so keep commenting below. Let me know if you have further questions regarding FRAMEWALK inspection, and let's keep going.
So this is going to be a pressure regulator for the tankless water heater system. We can see we got 4 pipes that are up there that are sticking out that are just uncovered. Those are part of the intake and venting systems for the water heaters. They need to get a fresh supply of air and then they exhaust the fumes to the outside of the house. With this size of a house, they're actually doing a dual tankless setup. Super nice feature. That'll make it to where you're getting instant hot water super quick. One thing, and I'm not sure, I won't really know on this 100% until I see it when we do the final walkthrough, but I believe what they're going to be doing for this house is they're going to be installing what's called a condensate tankless water heater. There's 2 different types of tankless water heaters. There's condensate and then non-condensate water heaters. The non-condensate water heaters are the more common kind of run-of-the-mill tankless water heaters. Obviously, tankless water heaters are better than 90% of the tank water heaters that we see on average, but the condensate water heaters, those ones are like far superior. This house is also set up for a soft water system. Yes. I know a lot of people really like to have soft water, but please make sure to pay attention on this one. If you are going to install a soft water system on your house, make sure to get a filter as well. We're in Vegas, you know, our water is not exactly known for being the nicest in the world. Got a lot of minerals and everything inside it. And all a saltwater or softener system is doing is adding salt into that water, which is just another mineral. It's going to clog up your fixtures a lot faster. It's going to wear out your tankless water heaters a lot quicker as well. Also to notate, the soft water system, this loop is only designated for the hot water side. You don't really want to have soft water for your cold drinking water or cooking water. 100%. That's not something you really want to do. Yeah. But I highly recommend that you guys get a filter if you are going to install a soft water system, just so that you're removing the bad impurities and only putting in the good stuff. Yeah. So now we are in the kind of mud room or whatever you'd like to call it. So one thing that I noticed, and usually I don't have to comment on it too much, but we do got a pretty decent bit of, these are called cripple studs. So you've got a jack stud, a king stud, and then everything underneath the windows is considered a cripple stud. But I got a pretty decent bit of gaps under some of these windows. You know, the tolerances they don't have to be super, super tight, but I would like to see it to where there's at least a little bit less of a gap underneath some of these windows. Okay. So that would be something I would recommend having done. And then if you guys notice, the bottom of the walls are green. They go through and they actually spray it after they've framed out the house. And I believe it is a solution that's supposed to be good to repel termites. So that's a good feature for us to have. If we will look up, we have an HVAC can or a register. Some people know it as, you know, being called a vent. It should be blocked on 3 sides. That's a requirement by code. I have a couple of them where they're just not blocked properly. Like this one's only really blocked on 2 sides. The can needs to be pushed to the side to where it can attach to the bottom of that other floor joist or ceiling joist. So that would be something that I would recommend having them do throughout the house, just making sure those are all properly secured so you're not going to be getting any rattling while the HVAC system's been turned on. We'll go in here, and this is your pantry, I believe. And this is something that we do see. It's a common issue to run into. I mean, it's probably on 70% of the inspections that I do for her. We're not mold experts. We like to point you in the direction of people that are the experts for that. But there's a pretty significant amount of areas throughout the property where I noticed that there's a mold-like substance on the framing. You can kind of see like the black specks that are starting to form on some of it. From my understanding, I've talked to a couple different mold specialists about this. It seems to be a pretty common type of, if it is a mold-like substance, it's a pretty common generic type that you end up seeing. And it's just from when the lumber was milled out at the factory, and it just sat around, got wet before it was dry kilned. So usually the builders are really good about going through afterwards and having it cleaned or encapsulated. So, and I don't think I've had any pushback with them even a little bit on having that done. So, and there are several areas where that is needed to be fixed though. This is going to be for the downstairs bathroom. Okay. This is just going to be blocking. So obviously our toilet fixture is going to be right there. Yep. So this is just going to be a nice feature that they do, thankfully, on these new builds, where they actually go ahead and they put in this framing here. It's just called backing, and it's so that you can install a toilet paper holder without having to like use drywall anchors or any of that. Yep. Usually whenever I see them a little bit damaged on property, I try to make sure it's a little bit more than obvious, just because it seems that if we don't make it super obvious, they'll just kind of drywall over it and seem to try to ignore it. So I try to make it to where they can't ignore it. Just telling Kaori, for the buyers on this property, whoever did the concrete work for this property did a phenomenal job. Yep. I have very few areas where I just got a little bit of spalling, and that's just where the concrete's starting to chip out in the flooring. If I see any spots, I'll point it out to the camera, but they're very, very minimal. Nothing that I would be worried about. And whenever they go to do the flooring, they'll put a self-leveler down on that concrete. That'll help make it nice and flush for whenever they go to install the flooring on top of it. Yep. Let's see, this is gonna be your kitchen area, obviously. We got another big drain pipe that's right here that's going to your sewer system. Yep. This is kind of a little bit of a nitpicky comment, but there'll be a comment in there about some of the blocking. You can see where this gas line runs. Yep. There's just a decent bit of areas where that blocking's damaged. I had some in the mudroom area, and they're kind of just scattered throughout the property. It's a fire blocking that they install between the studs on the outside walls of the property. I mean, they don't serve a lot to do whenever it comes to structural integrity, but they're more or less just for fire prevention and everything else. And they also add some rigidity and a little bit more securement whenever you have your drywall installed. Let's see, we'll come around here. Thankfully, this one's nice and secure. Just for future information, this is considered what's called a strong wall. These are insanely expensive. So for the future homeowners on this wall cannot be altered, cut, drilled into, nothing. However it is engineered in its current state is how it has to remain. That's a super important part of the structural integrity for this property. A bunch of lag bolts and a huge nut that's at the bottom that's used to secure this properly to the foundation. That's a nice feature for them to have here. Then we have some hold downs that are over here. These are massive hold downs. Usually they are not nearly this size, but I do have on both of these bottom nuts are completely loose on both of those. Okay. So that's definitely, I mean, if you're gonna install those, you definitely wanna make sure that those are installed properly and torqued down to the proper specs. This is part of your actual wall structure. We have a lot of areas, and I'll show it to you when we get into the main part of the inside of the house. But these are part of the actual, this is holding up the house. This one's pretty warped. I don't think it's gonna be causing any issues, but that is something that will be in the report. It does appear that it's flush enough that it's not gonna cause any issues with the drywall, but that is something that I'm gonna throw in the report just to make sure that they take a look at it. If it's perfectly fine for their standards, then we're good to go on that one, but I do wanna make sure to comment on it whenever I see anything like that. Whenever it's framing that's on the outside walls that's meant for the structural integrity of the house, they can be worked. It's natural, it's normally grown trees and stuff like that they're taking this wood from.
Yeah.
They're not using LVL or anything like that for these walls. You're gonna get knots, you're gonna have some damage. They're allowed to cut out certain areas up to 50% of that framing. But if they're altered too much or they're, have too much of an imperfection in it, then we do wanna make sure we have that commented on. So I know I had another area, I think we'll see it at some point whenever we're walking around, where I had one spot that's cut more than 50% through, and that part will definitely need to be addressed. You can see they've added structural I-beams here. Yep. Gonna be a super big beam for supporting this house. Then this is, I think we pretty much got everything that was in this area just because we had that blocking that we already notated from there. In this area, again, just a bunch of those anchors. Pretty much every single anchor that's on this wall is completely loose. Whenever there's this many, I usually recommend that they actually go through and they just have every single one of those secured and check every single fixture, just because if they're missing that many, then I'd rather make sure they go through and have them all secured. Yep. We have a little bit more mold-like substance on that part of the wall, little spots above there. Again, a couple spots where there's gaps underneath window sills at the cripple studs. Again, right there. Hold downs that I was showing you over there, this is what they normally look like. Yeah. So that's a normal hold down for your wall sill. Those are about as beefy as you can get. One thing that they did with this property, and I really like to see it, is they did a hot mop for the shower pans. It's a really nice feature. It's an old way for doing things, but honestly, it's probably the better way in my opinion. Other way that they like to waterproof these shower pans is they will install a rubber membrane. And those can have overlapping areas where those might not get water sealed properly, but with a hot mop, unless you drive a nail or a screw through it or intentionally bore through it for some reason, you're not gonna have any issues with water getting out of that shower pan. And that's something that we'll even test. Usually at this point of the framing process, they'll actually have these filled with water. I believe the state code is that they have to have them filled with water for 24 hours, but a lot of builders are actually a little bit better about that. They're either better about it or they're lazy because they'll leave it for like 3 days. And so they'll make sure that it's completely watertight. And so that's a really nice feature to have. Normal shower setup right here. This is gonna be your cartridge or mixing valve that determines what's hot or cold, or how much hot or cold you want for your water. Then that's just gonna be your standard shower head attachment. And then this is just more blocking and supports for installing your cabinets, vanities, and everything. This blocking or backing up here, this is just gonna be for your towel bar. So far, I think all of those were perfectly fine. I think the only backing I had that was not done properly in the house was gonna be the one in that downstairs bathroom. I think maybe one in the primary bathroom upstairs, but so far those were all nice and secured. Then if you will look to your left, that's where we have a little bit of that spalling that I was talking about, where that concrete's chipped out at the bottom. And that's about the max that I was able to find for this property. So for that being the only real comment I have for the foundation, that's pretty impressive, especially with the size of a property. So usually I'll have a pretty decent bit of cracking and damage like that. This is a post-tension slab. Post-tension slabs are basically, they go through and they put, it's like a kind of a big grid of steel cables with a plastic sheathing that goes over them. And then what they'll do is they'll actually pour the foundation, they'll let the foundation dry, and then they go through after the fact and they actually tension those cables. It's something crazy. It's like 4,500 or 45,000 PSI. And basically all that does is that pulls that foundation together and makes it super tight. So if we do end up seeing any cracks in the foundation, they're usually just gonna be hairline cracks. So they're not gonna be anything to worry about. I don't think I've ever actually, I've done about 6,000 inspections so far. I don't think I've actually ever seen a post-tension slab foundation that's actually damaged to the point where it's had any deflection within the foundation. About the only time I've ever ran into any damage with the post-tension slab is whoever had done the caps for the ends of it didn't do a proper job and they actually blew out the side. And that's a pretty costly repair that we don't want to have to see. Thankfully for this property, I didn't see anything to lead me to believe there was any issues with that part of the system.
If you were at a FRAMEWALK inspection, which section of the home do you want to check first? Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, or structural upgrades? Comment below.
So we're on the second floor now. This is the issue that I do run across a little bit. There is, I can't remember what they said the tolerance is off the top of my head. I think it needs to be less than 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. But for the subfloor, to OSB subfloor, you can see we got some pretty significant gaps and separation between the panels. Sometimes these panels can actually interlock. I don't believe they have these ones interlocking in a couple areas, but you can tell from the state inspector, we got some of this red markings on the ground, and that's actually where the inspector's gone through and kind of yelled at them about it. Yeah. And it doesn't seem like they've addressed some of those areas. So we even have a couple spots over here where like this part's like, that's a pretty significant damage there, and that's created a pretty good lip in that floor there. So that's something that's going to be very noticeable if they go to install that flooring.
Okay.
And then in this front bedroom, you can see they ran spray paint lines all the way down. But I mean, there's a 3/4 inch gap between the panels from here all the way to the outside wall.
Yeah. So it has to be very like just no gap, right?
Yeah, and preferably no. I mean, they can have a like this type of gapping's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But like whenever it's something like that, that's super significant.
Okay.
So that I don't know how they repair that, but that's something I would definitely recommend that they have addressed, because that's a little absurd. This is going to be the backside of the laundry room drain box for the washer system. Again, we got some missing dotty plates. Should have a metal plate here, and thankfully that one's pushed up to the front of the wall enough where we don't need a dotty plate for that one. This is a comment that I don't have to make too often, but I believe it's really close on this one. So they'll have to actually come out here and measure this for this drain pipe. Remember I was talking about with structural members, they can't be altered more than 50% or bored out more than 50%. This one's really close to that cusp of being 50%. And if it is over 50%, there's nothing super wrong with that, but it's just, it requires a specific repair called a stud shoe. Now they'll come through and they'll actually, it goes around all this, and that'll make sure that it's properly supported. So I do believe this is part of the structure, especially since it's got the OSB shear paneling here. There's a difference between this wall and the wall that's behind the camera. These ones are literally just for drywall separation between rooms. They don't hold up anything with the house. You can remove these. They're not going to cause any issues with the property. But anywhere we have a shear wall, exterior wall, those are actually part of the structure, and those ones can't really be altered or messed around with without engineer's approval. Usually, and I think I said this a little bit earlier ago, they'll be testing these. Even if it's a plastic shower tub, they'll have it tested and they'll have it plugged so that they'll fill it with water, make sure it holds water. This one, they don't have them plugged. They've just got a sheet of wood on top of them with some foam, so that way they're not causing any damage. But there's a pretty significant bit of debris, construction debris inside these tubs, and there's no cap on that drain. So I would actually recommend that they go through, have those cleaned out. And honestly, whenever it comes time for us to do the final walkthrough inspection, it wouldn't be a bad idea for this property to have it sewer scoped as well, just to make sure that there's no construction debris inside that drain pipe to the city connection. You'd be surprised at the amount of times we find stuff in the drain pipes, caulking tubes, hammers, screwdrivers, the amount of stuff that people drop in them and willfully ignore that they did. So we don't want those in there. Thankfully, the sewer system is going to be covered by the builder. I think it's I know it's at minimum 1 year. It might be part of the 5-year part of the program for the major systems. But that doesn't mean that we still want that sewer scoped and make sure that we're protected as much as possible. So we're just outside of the laundry room right here. I noticed I tend to shuffle my feet while I'm doing the inspections. That way I'm able to see if we have uneven paneling, that might create some lifts in the flooring. But if you go over this area, you can see it's got a pretty decent little settled spot to it where it's making it uneven. It might be because how it's framed. They do go through and they shim and shave the flooring and the walls. That's why you'll see some of these cardboard strips that are going to be on the outside of the framing. That's so that whenever you go to install the drywall is as flat as possible. Do you know if are they doing level 5 drywall?
Yes, this is a Santa Fe finish. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Santa Fe finish. Okay, perfect. So with the higher end drywall finishes, it's really, really important that this the framing is as flat as possible. If it's not, you're going to be able to see some pretty noticeable imperfections in the walls. And especially with this house being as big as it is, if you're at this part and you're looking down, you could see a bunch of waves in that drywall if it wasn't shimmed and shaved properly. Thankfully, they've already done that shim and shave process, and so far that part's looking really good on this part. So we're here in the primary kind of loft area. As you can see, the inspector came by and he notated it as well, that we got pretty significant gaps within the subfloor that need to be addressed. In your loft area, I think the only thing I had was going to be a missing dotty plate. It's gonna be a bit of a goofy one, but it's on the outside of this stud right there where that branch wiring's too close. Okay. And that's just this branch wiring's here is just for the outlet that's located at the bottom of the wall. The actual regular part of the primary bedroom, I don't think I had any comments for. Everything was looking really good. When we get into the primary bathroom, I do have some part with the framing. You can see they've already done the hot mop with the flooring for the huge shower that they're gonna have. This is another spot where, I don't know if it was just the way they had designed this with the engineering, but this 4x6 is notched out a bunch. It doesn't look like it's more than 50%, but it's gonna be in the report because I want the builder to just go through, verify it's not 50% just for their safety, and make sure that one's addressed. Again, more blocking for that cowl bar that's damaged. A little bit that's over there that's also damaged, because that's gonna be your hookups for your drain pipe and your supply lines for your tub. Waterfall feature, and that's gonna be your normal cartridges. So you're gonna have a very nice shower for this house. And I think the only other area I had some of the mold-like substance was gonna be in the primary bathroom closet. And that's just gonna be that top board right there that's going against the roof trusses. This is a spot, and this is something that's a requirement or anything like that. I like to throw it in my reports just because when they seem to go through and do the insulation inside the attic, they're not very good about being clean with it. I usually ask that they throw the covers on the HVAC units just so that if they're doing blown insulation, I don't want a bunch of blown insulation to get inside that HVAC unit. And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna have to comment in the final walkthrough inspection when we're inspecting inside the attic. More than likely, there's gonna be a bunch of blown insulation inside the drain pan for that HVAC unit. And that's not something we want to see because that can actually clog the drain pipe and cause a roof leak inside the attic, and that's not, or a ceiling leak, and that's not something we want to have done. So we're now in bedroom 3. It was looking pretty good. Main comments I really had were just more of the dotty plates that are needed for the branch wiring. This area was mainly just in the closet. And again, that's just so that whenever they're installing the drywall, they're not going to get a nail or a screw into that branch wiring and end up causing a short in the system and a breaker that's going to be constantly tripping on you. Those are pretty important to have installed. So I think we're done, guys. Overall, everything seemed to be in pretty decent shape. We got a couple things that the builder obviously needs to address, and you guys will make sure to get that documentation over to the builder. The way this usually works is I'll get the report to you. Usually our company's pretty good about getting the reports back same day, usually within a couple hours, honestly. And from there, we're only able to send the report to the buyer and the buyer's agent, but from there, they'll be able to forward it over to the superintendent. And then from there, they'll have a finishing team that comes through and has those items addressed. And if you are able to have them document the repairs, that always kind of adds a little bit of a peace of mind. Her team's really good about making sure that's always done and addressed, and everything, so that part's really good.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Joey. So I hope this was super informative for all of my viewers today. But like Joey said, he'll turn around the report within 24 hours. I'll review that report with the buyers, then send it to the superintendent and the sales team so they know all the things to repair and address before usually the midway construction meeting, which is scheduled for this Friday. But if there are things that are pending, we always ask the superintendent to take photos of those repairs and documentation, or myself or my team member will be here to document all of the repairs so that we know and we have that peace of mind
100%.
Before the drywall team comes in and drywalls the entire house. So Joey, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
As always, you guys are always the best.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so we'll wrap up this video right now. So there you have it, FRAMEWALK inspection explained, and we got a live summary of the FRAMEWALK inspection from today by Apollo Inspection. Personally, this FRAMEWALK inspection is one of my favorite milestones when purchasing a new construction home. For more videos about new construction, check out one of the videos surrounding me. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for finding me. It'll make me really happy if you can smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're made aware of my weekly content. My next goal is 100,000 subscribers. If you found this video educational, please share it with your family and friends. Thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one.